Hello, my name is Christina Marin, and I'm from Jefferson Davis High School. And I came here to interview Ms. Claudia Kolker, the author of the book, The Immigrant Advantage. This book is from her. She wrote it, and we're going to ask her some questions about it right now. Hello, Claudia Kolker. Can you tell me in a summarize about how's the whole book? Like,
okay, what the book's about. So, excuse me, the full title is The Immigrant Advantage: What We Can Learn from Newcomers to America About Health, Happiness, and Hope. And it's half memoir, it's half, me, and it's half sociology. I talked to all these newcomers to America. They had habits that I wanted to copy, that I knew worked really well. Can they work for a non-immigrant? And so I copied them. And I actually, I did all the things that I talked about in the book, and I cherry-picked ideas. So it's about 8 really smart things that newcomers to America do that the rest of us should copy. And I really did copy them. My friends have started to copy them. And when I was saying that, I thought it would just be storytelling. And then I found that no, newcomers to America, they live longer than native-born Americans. They have healthier babies. They have, it seems that they have fewer major mental health problems. They're actual successes that foreign-born people have, and we don't think of them as being more successful at a lot of things, but they are. And so that's what the book's about: is 8 really smart things that anyone can copy, and I copied.
Tell us, what do you do to research this book?
I did a few things. I started off with researching it like a newspaper story, which is that I got some basic information about what I wanted, and I did a lot of background interviews, and then I talked to people about the practice or the experience that I was writing about in that chapter. But then, only after I had met these people, and I wanted to have no preconceived notions. And I went back and I did like data searches, and I searched medical journals, and I was amazed to find that the things I was writing about were really backed up by medicine and by science. I had thought I was telling people stories mostly and writing more about tradition and folklore, but there was a real scientific part to it. So I did that, and then the other piece of research I did when I wrote these stories, each chapter down, I would then send it back to a lot of people from the community that I was writing about, whether Jamaicans or Mexicans or Nigerians, and I said, tear it apart, tell me anything I've got wrong or that bugs you. And so I really tried to get a lot of eyes on it, because you can get something factually right, and the human being reading it knows, forget it.
So you put a lot into it.
I did, yes. I did, but it was fun. It was so fun.
It sounds really fun. Do you have any advice for kids who want to be writers?
Yes, yes. Write all the time. Keep a notebook. Be careful, disguise names and identities, because someone will eventually find it and read it. But write about everything, and just keep a pen and a paper at all times. And when anything big happens to you, write it down. Keep yourself company in writing. And also, I got this advice in college. If you're reading a book and you own the book, read with a pencil. Have a conversation with what you're reading on a piece of paper, and make little notes to yourself. And just get in the habit of having your reflex be, get it down on paper, get it down on paper.
Projecting a lot to the paper.
Yes, and don't worry about editing or anything like that. If you're writing for yourself, it's your business, no correcting, no anxiety, it's fun.
What do you did for a living before you wrote this book?
I've always been a reporter of some kind, and mostly for newspapers, a little bit for magazines, and it really just has meant wherever I lived, I always seemed to be talking to people about their stories, finding about other ways of living life, and then telling it in a story form. So always writing down people's stories.
It's your feelings that you feel for them.
Yes, I mean it's tricky because you don't want to impose too much of what you feel, but what I learned from all the people I reported from, that totally changed how I feel about everything.
What are the best habits for someone to have who wants to be a writer?
Oh, keep notes. Just keep that notebook. It doesn't matter what it's for. Just keep the notes. Read good writing. That's something I've been thinking about a lot, because I'm one of those people. I'm very partial to Facebook, and anything that's on the internet I want to read. And it just hit me recently that I was reading more kind of random stuff by people who were typing things out on their phones than reading really well-crafted storytelling. And so it's like something you eat, you know, make sure what's going in, yours the top quality protein, and then tell stories and listens to stories and ask people about their stories all the time. Because another thing I really ran across while working on this is that we're hardwired, we're programmed to respond and learn from stories. That's why writers will always be in business somehow. Ask people stories. Almost always they want to tell them.
What do you write with a computer, pencil, tape, recorder?
I don't use a tape recorder because tape recorders, in my experience, tape recorders are less reliable than yourself, and so if it's an interview with like a head of state or something, I'll back myself up with the tape recorder. But I've just seen too many experiences where the tape recorder fails and the writer didn't take careful notes. So I take a lot of notes, but with the writing process for this book, I did something very 19th century, which is I wrote it out longhand with a pen. And the reason why was I want it to be a little different than newspaper reporting. I wanted my mind to work differently. And I want to slow down. It was like I was chewing up big hunks of food. It was hard, and it was a lot of material that was really new to me, and so I wanted to think slowly. And also because I was Harriet the Spy, I love writing by hand. It makes me happy, and so I also want to be in a good mood when I was writing. So I did that, then I typed it in 50 million times.
So you're basically using the recorder for like as a backup?
For this, I didn't use a tape recorder at all, but I did fact check anything somebody said, I fact checked with the person who said it to me. I was really careful about this because this is other people's stories. And in a newspaper, you can say the next day, oops, made a mistake, but it's a book. So I wrote it, I edited it, and then I tried to have every single person who was mentioned in the book help verify.
What are some of your favorite books as a kid?
Oh, I think I enjoyed and appreciated the books I read as a kid more than the ones now. So, Little Women, the Laura Ingalls Wilder books, I liked at the time, and I reread them with my kids, and I think they're masterpieces. And I wish I had read them before I wrote my book because they're so gripping and they're so simple, and they're all about process. This is how you make a balloon out of a pig's bladder, you know. And so, Little House on the Prairie, all those books. What else? All the Louisa May Alcott books. There's one called 8 Cousins. They are so feminist. They are so rebellious. In Little Women, the mother tells the daughter, now what I want for my daughters is to be strong and independent and happy. Never marry a man because he can support you. Support yourself and marry a man.
Good advice.
It was great. It was written like in 1866. So, and the Narnia books.
Oh, I love those books.
Aren't they great? Yeah.
Yes,
and they don't age. They don't age. So a lot of books about sort of unsupervised British children. Love those, and there are a lot of them. Yes. So I could go on and on.
Do you write in first and then publish, or get some who will publish for you and then you write again?
Okay, that's a very useful question for aspiring journalists, especially. The world has changed a lot for journalists, but now I make sure someone's going to buy it before I write it, unless I'm writing for myself in my journal. Yes. But there's something called writing on spec, which means you write for free, and that's if you are nobody and no one wants your stuff and you have to prove yourself. And that's how I got into journalism. Is I was in, where was I? I was in El Salvador, and I was just starting off as a freelancer, and I called a newspaper. I had this great idea, and they said, yeah, no, you can write the whole thing for us, and we will tell you if we want it. And it's a huge investment of time, you know, it's a lot of work, but I did it, and I polished it, and I got friends to look at it, and they took it for like 17 cents, but they took it. But then you're a published author, and then you can say, I'm not writing on spec anymore, look, someone published what I wrote. But you do have to do things for free and for very little money at first.
Yeah, so you start off from some point and then go up and up and up. Yes, that's a good way to start.
It's humbling, you know.
Yes, you're trying your best at least. Thank you, Ms. Claudia Kolker, for coming here and giving us this interview about your book. I will ask everyone to please read The Immigrant Advantage. It's a pretty interesting book about all cultures. We can learn a lot about it, and it's a really good book. Really, really good book.